A witch's spirit wandering in a mansion. The year was 1923, and the town of Hallowbrook, nestled deep in the forests of New England, had a dark secret. The locals whispered stories of a haunted mansion, an imposing structure that loomed on the edge of town, its windows dark and empty like soulless eyes. It was known as the Blackthorn Estate, and the legend that had surrounded it for generations was one of a witch's spirit that haunted its halls, forever bound to the place where she had once lived. The Blackthorn Estate was built in the early 1800s by Abigail Blackthorn, a woman whose beauty and charm concealed a dark and mysterious past. Rumors circulated that Abigail had been a witch, a woman with powers that even the bravest men in the town feared. Some believed that she had made a pact with the devil himself in exchange for eternal beauty, while others claimed she had been born with strange abilities that allowed her to control the elements and cast powerful spells. Abigail's life had been full of tragedy and misfortune. She had married a wealthy merchant, Tobias Blackthorn, who was said to be a cruel and manipulative man. It wasn't long before their marriage descended into bitterness and violence. Some said Abigail had used her powers to torment her husband, while others believed Tobias had been the one to instigate the cruelty, pushing Abigail to the brink of madness. One fateful night, Tobias disappeared without a trace, and Abigail was left to mourn the loss of her husband. The townspeople were quick to accuse her of foul play, suspecting that she had used dark magic to rid herself of him. In the weeks that followed, strange occurrences began to plague the mansion. Lights flickered, doors creaked open on their own, and an eerie wail could be heard echoing through the halls during the dead of night. The whispers of Abigail's supposed witchcraft grew louder, and many of the town's residents claimed they could feel her spirit lingering within the walls of the mansion. As the years passed, the mansion was abandoned, left to decay and crumble in the woods. But the legend of Abigail Blackthorn lived on. The house became a symbol of fear, its once grand rooms now haunted by the memory of its dark past. No one dared to approach the estate, and the town of Hallowbrook went on with its daily life, avoiding the cursed property at all costs. Then, in the summer of 1923, a young couple named Henry and Eliza Davenport moved to Hallowbrook. Henry was a historian, fascinated by the dark history of New England, and Eliza was an artist, drawn to the picturesque landscapes of the region. When they heard the rumors of the Blackthorn Estate, they were intrigued. Henry, always seeking to uncover hidden truths, believed there was more to the story than the locals let on. Eliza, on the other hand, was captivated by the idea of exploring the abandoned mansion and perhaps capturing its haunting beauty on canvas. Despite the warnings of the townspeople, the Davenports decided to visit the mansion. They traveled to the outskirts of town, where the path leading to the Blackthorn Estate twisted through dense woods. As they neared the mansion, the oppressive silence of the forest seemed to deepen, and the temperature dropped unnaturally. The mansion appeared as it always had in the stories, dark, towering, and foreboding. Its windows were like black voids, and the walls were covered in ivy and moss. It stood like a monument to the past, forgotten by time but still carrying the weight of its tragic history. Henry was the first to step onto the property. His boots crunched on the gravel driveway, and his heart raced with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Eliza followed closely behind, her camera in hand, ready to capture the atmosphere of the mansion. The front door was ajar, as if inviting them inside. As they entered the foyer, they were met with a musty, damp smell. The air felt heavy, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Dust covered the furniture, and cobwebs clung to the corners of the room. The ornate wallpaper was peeling, and the once beautiful chandelier hung from the ceiling like a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Henry's eyes darted around the room, eager to uncover any signs of the mansion's history. He moved deeper into the house, his footsteps echoing off the walls. Eliza lingered near the entrance, her camera raised to capture the haunting beauty of the place. As they explored the rooms, a strange sensation began to settle over them. The temperature continued to drop, and an overwhelming feeling of unease crept into their minds. It was as though they were being watched, their every move observed by unseen eyes. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, Eliza stumbled upon a large portrait of Abigail Blackthorne. The woman in the painting was strikingly beautiful, her dark eyes seeming to follow Eliza as she gazed at the canvas. There was something unsettling about the expression on Abigail's face, a mixture of sorrow and defiance that seemed to transcend the boundaries of the painting. Henry, who had been searching through the study, called out to Eliza, "You should see this. There is something strange here." Eliza hurried to his side, her curiosity piqued. Henry stood over a large, dust-covered book on the desk. It was an old leather-bound tome, its pages yellowed with age. The title was barely legible, but Eliza could make out the word spells written in faded gold lettering. "This must be one of Abigail's journals," Henry said, flipping through the pages. "Look at this. It's filled with strange symbols and incantations. It seems like some sort of ritual." Eliza looked around the room, her unease growing. "I don't think we should be here, Henry. Something doesn't feel right." As if on cue, a cold gust of wind swept through the room, despite the fact that all the windows were shut. The chandelier above them rattled, and the faint sound of a woman's voice whispered through the air, too soft to understand but unmistakably there. Eliza's heart skipped a beat. "Did you hear that?" Henry nodded, his face pale. "We need to leave now." But as they turned to leave, the door to the study slammed shut with a deafening bang. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. The temperature plummeted further, and the whispering voice grew louder, now accompanied by a low, guttural wail. Suddenly, a figure materialized in front of them, a translucent woman in a flowing black dress. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, and her long dark hair floated around her like a veil. It was Abigail Blackthorne. The witch's spirit floated before them, her mouth moving as if trying to speak, but no words escaped. The room seemed to pulse with her anger and sorrow. Henry and Eliza stood frozen in fear, their bodies unable to move as the ghostly apparition reached out toward them. Then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, the spirit vanished, leaving behind an overwhelming silence. The door to the study creaked open, and the temperature returned to normal. The Davenports didn't wait another moment. They rushed out of the mansion and ran back to town, their hearts still racing. As they passed the edge of the property, they glanced back one last time at the Blackthorn estate. For a brief moment, they thought they saw a figure standing in one of the windows, watching them. From that day on, no one dared approach the mansion again. The legend of Abigail Blackthorn lived on, her spirit forever bound to the house, where she would wander for eternity. And though the Blackthorn estate slowly crumbled into ruin, the memory of the witch's spirit continued to haunt the town of Hallowbrook, a dark and restless presence that would never be forgotten.